RalliTek. No roads required.
Hey everyone, Scott from RalliTek here with another tech talk for you. Today I wanted to showcase our Top Hat Spacer lift kit. This kit in particular is our 2-inch lift kit for the 1st gen Crosstrek and the SJ Forester. You can see that we include all of the necessary parts and hardware for you to have a successful installation. We have front spacers, rear spacers, and then everything to drop the rear subframe and get your rear alignment into spec. One of the biggest benefits of our Top Hat Spacer lift kit is the ability to change the mounting point of the front struts in relation to the mount on the car. So what we do is we actually move the strut mounting points in a little bit and then back a little bit. So moving them in will add camber to the car, moving them back will add caster. So you can see here I've got my 2 front spacers. The one with the yellow dot is my passenger side. Arrow is going to point towards the front of the car. Driver side has no colored dots. And again, the arrow points towards the front of the car. You'll see our RT logo will be towards the fender. The rear spacers are pretty much just straight. The rear suspension is a multi-link rear suspension, so it has upper control arms, lower control arms, trailing arms, and tow arms. So all that the spring and the shock are doing is basically controlling the ride and also setting the ride height. You can see here that our rear subframe drop will come with 4 single hole spacers. Those go under each subframe mounting point for the rear suspension. And then we've got 2 2-bolt subframe spacers. So those will go from the front 2 bolts to the rear subframe, and that'll mount the trailing arm brace. You'll see these 2 brackets right here. These are brake line extensions, so that way your brake hose won't get too tight during suspension travel. And then we have all the hardware you need. So we've got 4 big bolts. These will go right through the subframe into the chassis of the car. These nuts right here, these are all new front hardware for your front top hats into the car. This is hardware for the rear top hat spacers and top hats into the car. These 4 bolts right here, these will go for the trailing arm spacers. Those go through the 2-bolt spacers. And then this hardware, the bolts and the nuts, those are for the brake hose extensions. Installing the rear subframe drop will drop only the center portion of the suspension down, so actually flatten out your control arm, your trailing arm, and your tow arm. So you'll get your camber back, you'll get your toe adjustment back, and you'll get the rear wheel position back with the trailing arm. One thing you'll also want to take note of is we have a 2-inch lift kit here. So there's 2-inch spacer, bring that up front, and here's our subframe spacer. When I put them like that, you'll see that, hey, that's not 2 inches. Why is that not 2 inches? Well, what we found is for our 2-inch lift kit, we can actually get by with a 1.5-inch subframe drop. So this will keep the rear diff up just a little bit so it maintains ground clearance. And that way you aren't smacking your diff on anything when you're out on the trail. You'll also notice in this kit that we only have 6 spacers. The reason why I showcased this kit is these cars have another brace coming from the 2-bolt spacers, the trailing arms, and they're going to go forward to the chassis. What we found is we don't actually need those front spacers. The brace will bolt up to the car just fine without a spacer on the front. And those spacers are actually going to do more harm than good in our opinion. So on that trailing arm brace that's going forward from the trailing arm brace itself, it's a little confusing, but that's kind of how it is. If we space that down, then you've got another part that's in harm's way of obstacles on the trail. You're going to hit it. We've seen some people that have these spacers actually bend the subframe a little bit. It's not the worst thing in the world, but hey, if we don't need it, we aren't going to include it. So everything you see here, you will be able to achieve a factory alignment. We like to run about -0.3 degrees camber in the front suspension. Caster isn't really adjustable. You can do some manipulations to get some caster in and out of it, but that's pretty much set. And then the rear suspension, again, the subframe drop will flatten out your lower control arms, your trailing arms, and your tow arms, so you'll get all of your alignment specs back in there. The only adjustment you have in the rear is toe, so you'll be able to get that back into spec with no problems. we hope that you found this video informative, and if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via phone, email, social media, or even here on the YouTube page. Thanks, guys.